Well, it's a very beautiful day, and it's made infinitely more pleasant for me by the fact that I am going to talk to Rod Serling. So many of you have enjoyed his television shows. The Twilight Zone, I think, is the one that everybody talks about. I've just confessed to Rod that I haven't seen it.
Believe me, Benny, some of my best friends are quite unaware of this program back in the States, including relatives, I might add.
We've been given the story you and your wife travel on different planes.
Yes, indeed. It's that we don't have any close relatives who would be able to look after two rather small girls. And I suppose statistically this is nonsensical to travel on separate planes. I rather think it's far more dangerous to climb into a taxi, really, anywhere on Earth. We're on our way to Japan shortly here, and we're told that the Japanese cabs are called kamikazes, and that you literally take your life in your hands when you drive in these things. I was in the paratroops during the war, and I have since talked to old colleagues of the chutes, we call it, who have traveled in Japan, and they tell me that it's far easier to get up in a jump stick in a C-47 aircraft and leap out into enemy territory than it is to climb into the rear seat of a Japanese taxi cab. I think probably they're going to start giving medals and ribbons for service in back seats of Japanese cabs.
Do you know, Rod, for the benefit of people who haven't seen this, I think just a very brief description of what this series is about would be a good idea.
Well, the Twilight Zone is in essence an imaginative itinerary of storytelling in which we utilize bases of fantasy, science fiction, the occult, extrasensory perception, anything that is imaginative, wild, or as in the States we call it kooky. In normal earthbound drama, if a man is on top of a building and it's burning, of necessity he has to crawl down either a ladder or go through a skylight, or is rescued by a helicopter. In the Twilight Zone, he grows wings and he flies off. But as I say, this is a program of imaginative storytelling, and utilizing the idea of going back in time or forward in time, this has provided considerable bases of storytelling in our particular series. I'm the kind of a guy who is now in that aging late 30, early 40 bracket, in which suddenly there is a tremendous bittersweet, poignant feeling about wanting to go back to another time. In my case, it would be the pre-war, early teens time, which were particularly happy for me. And on occasion, I will go back to my old hometown and walk through the streets and the places that I grew up in and feel a sense of, great loss that I wish I could recapture it. And I think the answer is, much as Wolf said, you simply cannot go home again. It's quite impossible. As evidenced by the youngsters liking this show, I've always felt this is wonderful because the most unfettered imagination belongs to young people. And they don't walk through life, they fly, and that's marvelous. They defy the law of gravity, mentally anyway. And that's the reason I think we have astronauts orbiting now. And that's the reason we're planning a trip to the moon. People talk about science fiction being very far out, very wild. I don't think it's any of these things. Everything we see in the way of space travel, space concept, scientific advancement, medical discoveries, was already predicted by good science fiction 25 years ago.
As a little boy, did you find that you invented things? Did you ever get ticked off for telling fibs?
Oh, indeed. I don't utilize a euphemism. I'll say I was imaginative. Other people would say I was a liar. As a matter of fact, when I played small boy games, and if a bad guy, so-called, would put a gun to my head and fire, I would say I had an invisible shield, which I pushed a button and it got in front of me. Or, for example, if they lassoed me, I'd say you didn't really lasso me because I pushed a button and went through a trap door at that given moment. And my friends called me Impossibility. That was the name they gave to me. But I think it pointed the way toward professionally what I would do with my life. Some liars go to prison, others write television shows. It's as simple as that. This is the nicest interview I've ever had, really. I feel warm and belonging here.
Oh, that's a compliment indeed. I find that talking to someone who's creative is always inspiring.
Well, it depends. Creativity, of course, it comes at odd times. And I've done so much talking, Benny, in the past couple of weeks. I hope not pontificating. I hope talking is the correct word. I feel sort of talked out.
Well, I certainly have enjoyed chatting with you.
And I with you, Benny.
Thank you very much.
Righto.
Everyone, you have met Rod Serling.